A twist of fate. I stood at the grand entrance of my parents' estate, the soft light from the crystal chandeliers casting an ethereal glow on the marble floors. It was meant to be a celebration, a lavish engagement party to announce my union with Thomas van der Merwe, the most eligible bachelor in the country. Instead, I felt like I was living a nightmare. Only weeks before, I had believed I was on the verge of a fairy tale. Thomas, with his charming smile and impeccable pedigree, was everything my family had hoped for. He was handsome, wealthy, and had the kind of lineage that opened doors to exclusive social circles. My mother had already begun planning our wedding, dreaming of the extravagant reception that would follow. But as I stood there, surrounded by laughter and clinking glasses, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. Then it happened. A close friend, Laura, approached me with an uneasy expression, her words tumbling out in a rush. "Khadija, I need to tell you something about Thomas." Her tone sent chills down my spine. I had learned long ago to trust my instincts, and they screamed at me to listen. She hesitated for a moment, then continued, "I saw him at the club last night, with another woman. They were very close." My heart sank. I wanted to dismiss her words, to believe that there had to be some misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew this was no ordinary gossip. I took a deep breath, steeling myself against the impending storm. "I need to speak with him," I said, my voice trembling but resolute. That evening, when Thomas arrived, the atmosphere shifted. I could see the confidence in his posture, the way he smiled as if everything were normal. He didn't suspect a thing. I took him into the sitting room, the place where we had shared so many dreams and plans. "Thomas," I began, "we need to talk." He flashed me a disarming smile. "What's on your mind, loves?" Before I could lose my nerve, I confronted him. "Laura saw you with another woman. What do you have to say about that?" His expression faltered, and for a moment, the charming facade slipped. "Khadija, you know how these things get blown out of proportion. It was just a friendly drink. You must trust me." Trust. The very foundation of any relationship. But in that moment, I realized I could no longer trust him. My heart raced as I confronted him with the truth I had been dreading. "You were cheating on me, weren't you?" His silence spoke volumes. It was the confirmation I didn't want but desperately needed. I could feel the tears welling in my eyes as the weight of betrayal crushed me. "I can't believe you would do this to me. To us." The engagement party was just a few days away, and here I was, ready to call it off. I could hear the laughter of our guests from the ballroom, unaware of the devastation unfolding in the adjacent room. "Please, Khadija," he pleaded, "let's not do anything rash. I can fix this." I shook my head, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "You've already ruined it, Thomas. You've ruined everything." With that, I made my decision. The engagement was over. I called my parents to break the news, and their disappointment hung heavy in the air. But deep inside, a new sense of freedom began to bloom. It was a choice I had to make for myself. I would not be the woman standing by a man who disrespected me. I would not be his trophy bride. In the weeks that followed, I took time to heal. I focused on my career and poured myself into my work at the family's philanthropic foundation. That's when I met Lucas. Lucas Hayes was everything Thomas wasn't. He was kind, genuine, and refreshingly down-to-earth despite his own impressive pedigree. He was an entrepreneur, running a successful tech startup that was revolutionizing the industry. The first time we spoke, I felt an instant connection, a spark that I hadn't experienced before. As we spent more time together, I discovered his passion for social change, and I found myself inspired. He was everything I had always wanted, but had never realized I needed. Lucas didn't care about status or appearances. He cared about making a difference. One night, over dinner, he took my hand and looked into my eyes, and in that moment, I knew I had found something real. "Khadija," he said softly, "I admire your strength. You deserve someone who appreciates you for who you are." His words melted away the pain of my past. I felt valued, seen, and loved in a way that felt like home. It wasn't long before I found myself falling for him, something I hadn't thought possible after the heartbreak I'd endured. Months later, I was standing in front of Lucas, dressed in a stunning gown that made me feel like a queen. We were in the garden of my parents' estate, where my engagement to Thomas had once been planned. This time, however, it was different. This was our moment. With the sun setting behind us, casting a warm glow on everything, Lucas took my hands and said, "Khadija, you are the light of my life. I want to build a future with you, one that's filled with love, laughter, and purpose. Will you marry me?" Tears filled my eyes as I nodded, overwhelmed with joy. Yes, 1,000 times yes. As we exchanged vows surrounded by friends and family, I looked out at the guests, and among them, I spotted Thomas. He stood at the edge of the garden, a shadow of his former self, the weight of his choices evident on his face. But I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt pity. I had moved on, and I was happier than I had ever been. With Lucas by my side, I was ready to embrace a new life, one built on mutual respect, love, and the promise of a bright future. This was my fairy tale, and it was only just beginning.